All right. Hey guys, welcome back to Crypto. In today's content, we'll go for another, BTC macro update and trying to figure out what type of price action we could be anticipating over the next like a few weeks, right? So by the way, it is November 5th, 2025, just about like a 4:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? So when we take a look at BTC on a weekly basis, as you can see, we broke below the weekly 220 EMA. We talked about it on our one of our previous updates back in October 10th, 2025, right? When we first dumped below the weekly 211 EMA, even though we managed to close above the weekly 211 EMA back then, you can see like the following week we closed below it and then got a temporary push back up above the weekly 211, right? But still managed to dump back below it and close below it like last week. And you can see like on our current weekly candle, what we're getting, we basically dump down to the weekly 50 EMA, which is what we discussed previously on one of our updates. We said once we take out the weekly 220 EMA, the next temporary support going to be the 100K area all the way down to the mid 90s, okay, just about like a 97K, which is basically the 50% pullback. As of now, we just, the lowest weekly price as of now, I think it is just about like a 99 on average. Okay, 99. So pretty close, right? But the main thing is like the weekly 50 EMA holding as a temporary support. As you can see previously, back in April, we bottomed right around the weekly 50. Back in summer 2024, we also double bottom right around the weekly 50. Okay, that's the third time we retested. However, we discussed about the 4-year cycle, and what we said was like in terms of the 4-year cycle, if we, excuse me, if we take a look at BTC really quickly on a monthly basis, you can see we basically already completed the 4-year cycle. Okay, from let's say the you know you can take a look at it from the lows. Okay, let's say if we take it from the lows, we anticipated what 10,000 actually 1,065 days of a bull market, and that's exactly what we got. Okay, and where do we get that number from the previous bull market? If you take a look at the previous bull market, if you copy and paste this move, right, you can see from just about the last bear market bottom right here up to the next bull market peak was exactly the same number of months. Okay, 35 month, right? So that's why we said back in October BTC was 98 to 99%, okay, done with the bull trend, okay, until we get something to basically negate that thesis, right? But if you go back to the weekly time frame, so what we could be looking for over the next like a few weeks, right? It is a potential retest of the weekly 100 EMA. That's going to be a major support right over the next like a few weeks or even like a few months, depending on how BTC going to be holding between the weekly 50 and weekly 221 EMA. So this area right here could be crucial if volatility decreases. Okay, if volatility spikes in favor of the bears, the next major support could be the weekly 100 EMA. Okay, however, the weekly 100 EMA as of now it is at 85K zone, right? But it is a moving average, so we cannot just say 85K. For instance, if it trends higher all the way up to like a January, right, it could be anywhere around like a 90K. Okay, but as of now, as of today, November 5th, 2025, 4:30 p.m., the weekly 100 EMA it is at 85K zone. Okay, give or take, right? That's the most important thing we need to remember when it comes to the BTC macro analysis. I'm just going to keep it short. So, we could go for another update depending on the volatility, right? But before we cut it short, let's take a look at the MACD. As we discussed in our previous update, the MACD, it is still negative. So you got to keep an eye on the MACD. As long as the weekly MACD is remaining negative, right? The weekly time frame going to be the dominant trend, right? And in order to basically reverse the price action and start to a trend higher, BTC has to get back above the weekly 21 EMA. Otherwise, most likely a potential retest of the weekly 100 EMA over the next like a few weeks and so on. Okay. But if we get any sign of bullishness, let's say we get back above the weekly 21 EMA, the weekly MACD flips negative, then we could basically start to talk about some high prices potentially above 130 and so on. But as of now, we'll just take what we have and manage risk over the next like a few weeks or even like a few months, right? All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching.